Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. Then the rules are over, and the hunter assessment will officially begin. Please follow me closely and don't fall behind. In the dark tunnel, the lights above the tunnel flickered. A dense crowd of people stood in the tunnel, and these people had their number plates stuck to their chests. This is the venue for the first test of the hunter exam. Sats, a monkey-like examiner with a two-rolled beard. After briefly introducing the rules, he turned and walked towards the depths of the tunnel. The crowd also began to move. However, among the crowd that gradually began to move, a 12-year-old boy named Rocky had an uncontrollable joy on his face. It has been 2 years since he came to this world, and he has also understood where this place is during these 2 years. This is not the original world, it's an anime world, Hunter x Hunter. After 2 years of hard work, Rocky finally managed to enter the hunter assessment venue. The reason Rocky came here desperately to participate in the hunter assessment was not because he wanted to be a hunter. It is the extraction system of characters from all worlds that comes with Rocky's crossing. The first task is to take the hunter exam. Rocky was only 10 years old when he received this quest, and after 2 years of waiting, he could complete the quest today and unlock the rewards of the system. Ding! Mission completed. Reward B-level characters for a lottery draw. Ding! In view of the host completing the task for the first time, the reward is doubled and the reward level is raised to S level. S-class characters are being drawn. Congratulations to the host for extracting an S-rank character from the world of Psychic Kings, King Asakura Ye. Extracting. After the extraction, the host has obtained all the abilities of the S-rank character, King Asakura. The new mission is open, complete the hunter exam. When the system beeps ended in Rocky's mind. Rocky felt like his body didn't know when. It seemed to have endless strength. Rocky's 2 years of exercise before, at most, brought his body to the level of a normal adult, but he obtained all the abilities of King Asakura Ye, including talent, physique, and ability. It made Rocky feel like he was completely reborn. Although this world is different from the world of the Psychic King, he has not obtained the magic power of King Asakura yet, but an S-rank character is an S-rank character, and even the most basic physical fitness is definitely not comparable to ordinary people. Is this the power of King Asakura Ye? Clenching his fist, Rocky felt that he might be able to kill an elephant directly with one punch, and perhaps more than that. Suddenly, a hand tapped Rocky's shoulder lightly. Mr. Rocky, the assessment has started, do you want to go with us? Hearing the voice, Rocky knew who it was even if he didn't look back. Gang. Flix. The main coffee of the full-time version of Where Are You Going, Dad? Next to him are his family and friends, Kurapika and Leorio. Originally, Rocky didn't intend to have contact with the protagonist team, but just ran into Gon and the others when he first entered the venue, so he said hello and left. With them, the risk factor is too great. Dangerous reason. It was the stare from Soda. Although Hisoka hasn't noticed Gon, Kurapika, and his party, it won't be long before Hisoka discovers these toys. So do you want to find your father with the protagonist team? First of all, Rocky does not lack a father, and secondly, it is too dangerous, so it is better to follow the examiner to be safe. But now it's different. Rocky, who has obtained the power of King Asakura, now feels that even if his power is not enough to deal with the perverted Hisoka, he can run away at any time before Hisoka gets excited. And contact with the protagonist team is not without benefits. What if a mission is triggered? Perhaps because of his age, Gon still has a good impression of Rocky. Looking at Rocky expectantly. Rocky didn't disappoint Gon either. He nodded and smiled naturally, okay. I'm alone anyway. Then let's go together. Where is Mr. Rocky from? Gon asked. After Rocky greeted Kurapika and Leorio behind him, he turned around and replied, I come from a small and remote country, and you probably don't know the name. Our country is a minority with only a few thousand people. Because the number of people is too small, the country is about to be destroyed, and it should be forced to join the Akma Federation soon. After all, our country is on the border of the Akma Federation. After Rocky finished speaking, Kurapika gave him a deep look. Why did Mr. Rocky come to take the hunter exam? This time it's not gone, it's Leorio asking, maybe he just wants to change the subject. Although he is very horny and does stupid things, Leorio still has a warm heart. The reason for taking the hunter exam, Rocky said with some uncertainty after thinking about it. Maybe I just want to come and see. There's no particular reason. That's because you don't know enough about hunter. Once you become a hunter, you will get countless wealth. Ha ha ha, you can. With Leorio revealing a picture of Brother Pig. Rocky, Gon, and Kurapika all looked at Leorio with contempt. Hey hey hey! You little bastards, why are you looking at me with such eyes? When you are adults, you will have the same thoughts as me. Sorry Leorio, I'm not interested in what you say. Kurapika mercilessly denied the possibility. Gon also scratched his head agreeing with Kurapika. Rocky smiled and said nothing. It's just that when he looked back at Leorio, he saw a person out of the corner of his eyes. Hisoka. Rocky couldn't help but glance at Hisoka. However, at this moment Hisoka followed Rocky's line of sight. For a moment, Rocky seemed to feel an indescribable sense of crisis surging. This is not what he noticed, but the instinct of the body reminding him, danger. Every cold hair on his body seemed to stand up instantly. He quickly retracted his gaze. Rocky tried to calm himself down. This guy, just a look is so terrifying. It seems that I have to follow the examiner after a while. At the same time, Hisoka, who was at the back of the team, slowly raised the corner of his mouth. He closed his eyes slightly, looking at Rocky's back, his eyes were about to come out. Awesome! What? Sure enough, coming to the hunter exam is really the right choice. That child is as dazzling as the sun in the dark night. I can't stand the dazzling. How can there be such a dazzling kid? It's amazing. Asterisk. Chapter 2. Hisoka, who was in a state of excitement, is now trying to suppress his emotions. A pair of slender eyes glanced at Rocky from time to time. At this moment, Rocky is still thinking about how not to attract Hisoka's attention. Hey kid, you underestimate the hunter trial too. This is a test of endurance. You are cheating like this. Leorio's voice brought Rocky back to his senses. Look at the person Leorio is talking, white short-sleeved jacket, navy blue long-sleeved turtleneck single. About the same height as Gon. This should be Gon's husband, Kilua. Rocky likes Kilua more than Gon. It might be interesting if Gon and Kilua can't be friends, but instead become enemies. No, why do you have such a strange idea? Rocky shook his head, tossing the strange thought out. How about you? How old are you? Kilua's voice sounded, and Rocky turned to look at Kilua, who was standing beside Gon. Seeing this situation, it should be that the two have already gotten to know each other initially. Then there should be no possibility of the two becoming enemies. Wrong. Why do you have such a strange idea again? 12 years old. Oh. Kilua looked at Rocky carefully and said, is he the same age as me? I am Kilua. Rocky. After a simple acquaintance, Rocky, Gon, and Kilua began to travel together. Kurapika and Leorio gradually began to fall behind as time went on. Examiner Sats, the current speed has gradually accelerated from walking at the beginning to running. Unconsciously speeding up, some candidates have begun to notice that something is wrong. It's not just a test of endurance, it's a test of willpower and faith. In the dark tunnel, there is no end in sight. The concept of time has also become blurred. An hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. Everyone can only roughly estimate how long it took to run. It is a great pressure for physical strength, endurance, and psychology. And for Rocky, with constant running, Rocky found that he didn't feel any fatigue at all. Even if it's just a little tired. Physical strength is like a bottomless sea, the more physical strength is consumed, the more abundant physical strength will be felt. Rocky conjectures. Perhaps this is due to the fusion of all the abilities of King Asakura Ye. Although there is a system, in order to fully integrate the ability of King Asakura Ye, Rocky needs to adapt himself. Time keeps advancing. Rocky's breathing remained steady. 3 little ghosts of the same age chatted in the team. Although their voices were not loud, 3 or 4 hours had passed by now. Even physically strong people are under great mental pressure, and they are not in the mood to speak at all. Talking while running will not only disrupt the rhythm of breathing, but also increase physical exertion. So until now, many people have kept their mouths shut and tried to maintain their own breathing rhythm. Looking at the 3.5-year-old little ghosts, not only did they not look tired, but they chatted in high spirits. Leorio and Kurapika, who followed Rocky, Gon, and Kilua, looked at the eyes of the 3 with envy. What a powerful physical ability to make the 3 of them not feel tired at all. Kurapika said, looking at Leorio by his side, sweat all over his face. How can those 3 little devils have such perverted physical fitness? Damn, I'm so much older than them, and I'm not as good as a few little devils. The 3 of them were running and chatting leisurely. In such a state, it was not just Kurapika and Leorio who couldn't help but complain. The other candidates, looking at the 3 of them, felt as if they had been greatly ridiculed. Everyone is taking exams, why are you like shopping? Rocky, who was talking, suddenly turned his head and looked around at the people around him. For some reason, Rocky just felt the thoughts of these people around him. Although I didn't feel it exactly, I could vaguely sense that the people around me were starting to feel hostile to the 3 of them. Everyone around seems to be looking at us. Gon didn't feel it, but he noticed that the people around him were looking at them frequently. Kilua put her head in her hands, closed her eyes and said lazily, who knows? Kilua's nonchalant attitude made the people around him even more hostile. But Rocky also felt that it didn't matter, who would care about the hostility of the ants? A test of endurance and will soon entered the second stage. When you see the exit, Gon and Kilua suddenly accelerated. Rocky was a little helpless. The 2 are completely childish. Come first. Only small children would do this. The 3 figures almost came to the ground at the same time after Sats stopped. I'm number 1. Gon looked at Kilua and Rocky. Kilua retorted, it was me who arrived first. You are too slow. Rocky said lightly, standing in front of the 2. Sats. Monster kid. After running for such a long time, the breath of the 3 of them was completely stable, and there was no tired look on their faces. Unbelievable physical strength. The Lost Merlet Wetlands, commonly known as the Deceiver's Lair. It is the only place to go to the second trial venue. There are many strange animals here. Please give a candidate to follow me closely. If you're not careful. But you'll die. The candidates who were originally relieved began to worry when they heard this sentence before starting the exam. Rocky looked at the wet forest in front of him, and liked this kind of place. A forest full of strange creatures was much more interesting than the boring tunnel before. Rocky, who was admiring the Los Merlet wetlands, suddenly turned around and looked towards the tunnel exit. It should appear. Just when Rocky thought about it, a voice suddenly came out after Sats finished speaking. Don't be deceived everyone. This guy is not an examiner at all. I'm the real examiner. It's a man-faced ape from the Shime Le wetland, specializing in... Bang! A dark shadow appeared in front of him. The guy who was talking suddenly sank his face, and scarlet blood spurted out. after flying upside down for dozens of meters. Puff! It fell heavily on the ground, with no breath at all. Rocky stepped on the anthropomorphic ape that was dragged out, and said expressionlessly, "It's boring." Originally, he wanted to try to see how far his strength is now, but these two things can't achieve any test effect at all. Kaka! Before the man-faced ape lying on the ground could escape, he was trampled to death by Rocky's foot. Rocky clapped his hands and turned around to look at Sats. Is the assessment not started yet? In the crowd. What just happened? When did this kid shoot? So fast. Hey, what are you doing? You killed the examiner. Surprised, some idiots have obviously believed the words of the human-faced ape. Rocky looked over at his questioner. Stared at by Rocky, he involuntarily took a few steps back, his expression quickly filled with fear. I mean. Chapter 3. You said I killed the examiner. Rocky's calm voice sounded. Step by step toward each other. The invisible momentum surged out of Rocky's body, like a dark tide, coming quietly, and when you found it, you were already in the vortex. Puff! The test-taker who spoke out and questioned Rocky fell to the ground and looked at Rocky in horror. There was a big cold sweat on his face. Sats's eyes narrowed, looking at Rocky. This momentum, it's amazing. Glancing at this unbearable fellow, Rocky stopped and raised his finger to the silent examiner Sats in the distance. Isn't the examiner standing there well? Forward. But he may be fake. The previous running posture is not like what ordinary people can have. I don't know where there is another questioning voice. This guy Rocky hasn't figured out who the real examiner is, so he shot, really. Leorio complained. Kurapika shook his head and glanced at him. If you didn't know who the real examiner was before, it should be clearer now. Why? Leorio asked back. At the same time, the attention of the people around was also attracted by Kurapika. Cough cough. Clearing his throat, Kurapika came out and spoke. The examiners in the hunter trial are all official hunters who have obtained the hunter license. With the strength of the professional hunter, how could they be killed by the candidates so easily? So the real examiner is Mr. Sats. Turning his head to look at Rocky with a calm face. Kurapika frowned. Rocky, that's why you attacked that man-faced ape. After being instructed by Kurapika, all the candidates seemed to have come to their senses, showing their original expressions. Looking at Rocky again, his deep eyes became jealous. He was able to make such a judgment in such a short time, and he showed his strength when he started. Rocky is regarded as a rival by many. Faced with Kurapika's question, Rocky nodded casually, without giving the real reason. The moment he saw the human-faced ape, he didn't mention that he knew the plot beforehand. Even if he didn't know the plot, he could see the true identity of the other party at first glance. This strange ability, Rocky doesn't know what's going on for the time being. Perhaps it is also one of the abilities of King Asakura Ye. Although this world is different from the world of psychic kings, Rocky's inherited abilities do not have the perverted magic power of King Asakura Ye, but maybe it is just because of the different rules of the world, the magic power of King Asakura Ye, and some unique abilities, changed another way and was inherited by Rocky. Don't think about it for now, let's finish the hunter exam first. A farce ended so quickly. Sats's gaze also stayed on Rocky's body for a long time before slowly withdrawing. Zhang Kai continued to remind this group of cute candidates. So everyone now understands why this place is called the lair of fraudsters, and I remind everyone once again that if you are deceived, you will die. Oh. Then we move on to the venue for the second exam. Sats turned around and continued to run. All the candidates followed almost immediately. Rocky, who was with Gon and Kilua, was now focusing on Hisoka, who was placed at the end of the team. Rocky, your reaction was so quick just now, and your analytical skills are amazing. Gon was still talking beside Rocky. Humph. It's nothing special. Instead, it interrupted a good show. Seeing Gon compliment Rocky so much, Kilua was a little unhappy, and seemed to feel that Rocky had stolen the limelight. Rocky didn't say much about this, and looked at the two of them calmly. It's a bit dangerous for Rocky to continue with Gon now, and the anime's sorceress is about to start getting high. Although I don't know when Suoda will get excited, Rocky still doesn't want to be involved. And the most critical problem is that, following Gon and others, it has been a while, and there is no sign of the task being triggered. It seems that the task of the system does not appear so easily. At least not now. That being the case, let's be safe first. When he understands all the abilities of King Asakura Ye that he inherited, he should have no problem dealing with opponents like Hisoka. After all, King Asakura Ye is an S-rank character. Just when Rocky made the decision and was about to tell Gon to go ahead, the wonderful sound of the system echoed in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the mission, joining Hisoka's trial, and getting Hisoka's approval. Rocky opened his mouth and looked at Gon in front of him, and he swallowed the words that had already been mentioned in his throat. Seems to be aware of Rocky's anomaly. Gon turned his head to look at Rocky. What's the matter, Rocky, what are you trying to say? Rocky tried to put a smile on his face. It's nothing, just follow the person in front of you. The fog here can easily get us lost. Compared to this, I think it's better for us to run to the front, just smell the smell, and I know that Hisoka guy can't stand it anymore. Kilua said with a very serious expression, which shows that he is also very afraid of Hisoka. Asterisk. Chapter 4. Hey! Rocky, Gon, let's get to the front. Gon sniffed with his own nose, but couldn't catch what Kilua was talking about. Kureka, Leorio, Kilua said it would be better to run ahead. If the idiot could do it, I would have been there long ago. Leorio was a little helpless. He was obviously so much older than the three of them. In terms of physical strength, he should be the strongest, but the reality was just the opposite. The three little devils, with their perverted physical abilities, completely collapsed Leorio's 18 years of common sense. Damn, why, Gon and the three little devils have such terrifying physical strength. So You go first. Leave us alone. Kurapika said. In terms of physical strength, Kurapika also admired the physical strength of the three. Then let's go. Kilua said and began to accelerate. Gon hurriedly followed. Wait for me. You go first. I'll go see them. After speaking, Rocky slowed down and moved towards Kurapika and Leorio's echelon. Kilua gave Rocky a surprised look. What a weirdo. What? Rocky is obviously a very good person. In Gon's opinion, Rocky's approach was very good, and Gon didn't want to leave Kurapika and Leorio alone. But now the good friend he just made, Kilua is going to the front. If he goes to Leorio and the others, Kilua will be alone. Looking at Gon with pure eyes, Kilua smiled helplessly. Let's go. Rear. Leorio saw that Rocky slowed down, and his first reaction turned out to be happy. I'll just say you're a kid, it's absolutely impossible to surpass me in terms of physical strength. Also a little surprised that Rocky slowed down Kurapika. Rocky turned his head to look at Leorio. Did you just say something? Calm expression, quiet eyes, steady breathing. Looking relaxed. Leorio. Don't defend your self-esteem, Leorio. Although Rocky is younger than you, his physical strength is also a monster-level existence. Kurapika glanced at Rocky. At this distance, you don't know where to go, you just follow the person in front. Why do you fall from the front to the back? Follow me. Even if I lose the person in front of me, I can still find the examiner's position. Hearing this, Kurapika's eyes shook, and he looked at Rocky. Thank you. Are you looking down on my physical strength? To be underestimated by a kid, I won't admit defeat so easily. Leorio, whose self-esteem was suddenly and again stimulated, suddenly began to accelerate. Rocky grabbed Leorio's tie and nearly strangled Leorio to death. What are you doing? Leorio, whose acceleration was interrupted and was almost unable to catch up, growled at Rocky. Don't be stupid, this will only make your breathing lose the rhythm, and your physical strength will be consumed faster. Just keep the current speed. You should be able to persist until the second exam venue. Rocky finished lightly. Kurapika also spoke out in agreement with Rocky's statement. This makes Leorio OU, the idiot, run with peace of mind. In the jungle, one after another figure walked through the fog constantly. The candidates in the back are basically relying on willpower to persevere. After several hours of running in the tunnel, the people who can now clear the customs are basically gathered in front. The rest are just some people who are about to lose it. If these people want to be qualified, they can only rely on willpower to persevere and break through their own limits. Among the running crowd, Rocky, Kurapika, and Leorio OU slowly moved forward. As Rocky moved forward, he felt that there were many creatures around him staring at them. The vanguard entered the forest, disturbing the creatures, and those who fell behind would naturally become their prey. Therefore, most of the smart candidates gathered around the examiner. Be careful. Rocky reminded the two of them. But just finished speaking. The three had to stop. On the side of the road, there was a group of candidates who gave up the exam. These people are surrounded by Hisoka. Narrow fingers, holding cards. It just danced slightly, as if dancing an elegant ballet. One after another, the blood spurted out from the bodies of these people, sprinkled into the air like a lotus flower blooming. Hisoka raised his arms, the cards in his hands. 4 of spades. There was only one person left in the crowd that was standing a moment ago. When Hisoka glanced at him, he immediately turned and ran away without any extra movement. Pity. The cards move faster than he can escape. The fragile cards in Hisoka's hands turned into sharp weapons that could be inserted into other people's skulls. After dealing with these people, Hisoka turned to look in Rocky's direction. It's surprising that there is an unexpected harvest. Hisoka's voice was more terrifying than a beast. Facing Hisoka's murderous initiation, he felt like he was in a world of ice and snow for a moment, and it was extremely cold. Asterisk. Chapter 5. Wow! Playing cards that magically appeared out of thin air danced in Hisoka's hands. But it was only in a blink of an eye that the poker cards disappeared again. There is only one poker left in Hisoka's hand. Hisoka looked at the three, and the weird smile gradually appeared on his face. Turning over the poker in his hand, Hisoka's eyes narrowed slightly. It was a ghost card that was drawn, because your luck is too bad, or... Hisoka squinted, his eyes jumped back and forth on the three of them, and finally locked on Rocky. He was stared at by Hisoka with kind eyes. I saw such a terrifying scene just now. Hisoka's strength made Kurapika and Leorio feel a lot of pressure. Leorio, Rocky, wait a minute, as soon as I hit the code, we'll run away separately. The strength gap between us and this guy is simply worlds apart, so if we fight, we have no chance of winning. Kurapika's face was ugly, and it was the most correct judgment in this situation. Even Rocky agrees with Kurapika's approach. But escape was impossible. It's about tasks, system rewards, Rocky doesn't want to give up. He didn't speak and just listened to Kurapika's plan silently. I count, 3. We'll run away. 1. 2. Hisoka started walking towards the three with strides. 3. Shushu. Kurapika and Leorio, who were standing on the left and right of Rocky, fled in both directions at almost the same time. The escape speed of the two was very fast, and they had already jumped out a distance of 7 or 8 meters in one breath, and the speed was still accelerating. The moment they started to run away, they found Rocky standing still, and they all turned to look at Rocky. Kurapika hesitated for a second before continuing to run forward. Unlike Leorio, Kurapika thinks more. Although I don't know what Rocky is doing, the previous plan has been clearly stated, but Rocky still does not act according to the plan. So why did Rocky do this? There is only one explanation, to help them delay time. The rational Kurapika hesitated for a moment, but when he thought that Rocky was doing it to help him and Leorio delay time. Get up to speed now. Don't waste the time your companions bought. Mr. Rocky, thank you. Kurapika just glanced at Rocky, then withdrew her eyes and fled forward frantically. On the other side, Leorio looked back at Rocky in a daze. Leorio didn't stop until he kept moving forward and Rocky's figure disappeared. Leorio, who lowered his head and clenched his hands tightly, clenched his teeth fiercely, just run away and do nothing, Kurapika and Leorio's escape caused Hisoka to frown slightly. Smart choice, but... Looking back at Rocky who was still standing, your choice is surprising. From a certain point of view, this venue is quite suitable for me. Even if it is not his opponent, in the forest surrounded by fog, it is not impossible to escape. Rocky bowed his body slowly, it's just my strength, I don't know how far it can reach, let's use Hisoka to test it. Rocky, who decided to attack, instantly changed his aura. At this moment, Hisoka could clearly feel the powerful aura flowing through Rocky. This momentum has nothing to do with the strength of strength. It is the expression of a person's will. Rocky didn't even notice when he was focused on attacking Hisoka with all his might. There was a gust of cold wind all around. A bright light converges on Rocky's hands. Staring at Rocky's Hisoka, a flash of light suddenly flashed in his eyes. This is, read. This kid can actually use the mind. Rocky's feet kicked hard. Bang! The ground sank suddenly, cobweb-like cracks spread out, and dust flew. In an instant, Rocky charged straight towards Hisoka like a cannon shot. Almost in the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of Hisoka. A punch with full force slammed into Hisoka's face. No fancy tricks, pure power and speed. At the same time, there was a thought that even Rocky didn't notice, wrapped around Rocky's fist. Bang! Rocky's all-out punch was easily blocked by Hisoka's hand. The attack was blocked, and Rocky wasn't too surprised. Bang bang bang! Punch after punch hit Hisoka. The dazzling fist shadows were all blocked by Hisoka's hands. Rocky frowned, and within a few seconds, he punched dozens of punches, all of which could not hit Hisoka. His own attacks pose no threat to Hisoka. It's not enough for such an attack to hit me. Hisoka's voice sounded. A big hand suddenly appeared in front of Rocky and grabbed towards Rocky's neck. So fast! Bang! With a loud noise, Rocky's body spun rapidly in the air, and then fell firmly to the ground. Grabbing the empty Hisoka, his eyes narrowed and he stared at Rocky. In just a moment, I used a lot of thoughts to force my body to speed up to avoid my attack. How to use this kind of thoughts? This kid doesn't seem to know how to use mind. Just relying on instinct to unconsciously use mind energy, asterisk. Chapter 6. For a moment, it seemed a little strange. Rocky stood there, as if he had been hit by a huge force just now on his body. Allow him to escape from Hisoka's attack. He himself didn't know what happened. Hisoka's eyes slowly opened, and the expression on his face seemed a little excited. Looking at Rocky's expression, I saw that Rocky didn't seem to know what was going on. To make Hisoka even more excited. If it was really what he guessed, Rocky in front of him used his mind without knowing it at all. Hisoka couldn't believe how terrifying his mind would be if Rocky learned to use mind. It is possible to do this just by instinct. How terrifying it is when Neon is fully awakened. It seems to have found an incredible toy. 3 cards suddenly appeared on Hisoka's right hand. The moment he saw the cards appeared, Rocky was ready to dodge Hisoka's attack. The magician's attack is not so easy to see through. Wow la la la! Take another card and bounce it into the air. Solitaire flying in the sky. The moment Rocky was distracted with these cards, 2 cards shot towards Rocky in a weird arc. The size of the cards, the attack produced almost no sound. A silent attack, quickly approaching Rocky. Swoosh! The attack failed, and Rocky went straight through the area where the cards were flying in front of him, and approached Hisoka from below. With a sudden kick, he flew towards Hisoka. Bang bang! With 2 consecutive noises, Hisoka wanted to catch Rocky. But at the moment of Rocky's attack, the thoughts wrapped around Rocky's legs kicked Hisoka out. Hisoka, who was flying upside down in the air, froze for a moment. Isn't it possible to have such power without fully awakening? If you are fully awake. Hisoka was very satisfied with Rocky. He didn't expect to come across such an interesting toy just because he was bored to participate in a hunter trial. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the task. Hisoka's trial successfully obtained Hisoka's approval. Reward B-level characters are drawn once. Extracting. Acquisition, B-level character, One Piece, Lion Cuddle Up. Capability extraction. The extraction was successful. This time is different from the last time. Rocky's physique has gone through the initiation of the S-rank character Asakura Ye, which is no longer comparable to the B-rank character Lions. But although he didn't feel any changes in his body, Rocky found that there were many more moves in his mind. Navy 6. Exactly what Rocky was missing. Obtaining the power of King Ye, but King Ye's power lies more in the use of magic power, and in the current world, Rocky has not found that he has magic power at all. A lot of Ye Wang's powers seem to be unusable. You can only fight with your own strength. The Navy 6 is the perfect fit for Rocky right now. The rewards of the system did not make Rocky stand in a daze. It all ended in an instant. The moment Rocky got the Navy 6, Hisoka felt as if something had changed in Rocky. But what is the specific change? Hisoka is not clear. Shave. Suddenly Rocky disappeared. This scene surprised Hisoka. When Rocky's figure reappeared, it was already in front of him. Rocky's body twirled in the air. Land feet. Under Rocky's kick, the air rolled up in a vacuum to create a slash, tearing towards Hisoka's body. Hey! Dodge Rocky's attacks with extreme speed. The vacuum slash rolled up by Land's feet hit the ground, tearing a long crack in an instant. Amazing skill. Hisoka was amazed in his heart. I never thought that someone could make such an attack without relying on Nian. Such an astonishing attack, the average Nin, I am afraid, can't stop it, and it will definitely be cut in half in an instant. Finger gun. Bang bang bang. Before Hisoka had time to sigh, Rocky's attacks followed. This time, Rocky's attack seemed to turn his fingers into bullets. The attack that filled the sky for a moment shrouded Hisoka. These attacks are as quick as bullets. Hisoka raised his hand and squeezed the card, his thoughts covered the card, and the fragile card became as strong as metal. Clang! 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 Blocking Rocky's attack, Hisoka grabbed the card and slid towards Rocky's throat. Moon's Step. Bang bang bang! A mass of air seemed to erupt under Rocky's feet, making him take a few steps before walking in the air, and a few dodged away from Hisoka. Fall to a safe location. Hisoka looked at Rocky, who used the moon step to jump away, and his heart was extremely shocked. If the previous skills were amazing, the feeling that Tsukushi gave Hisoka was like an artistic move. The skill of being able to move in the air without using anything is simply incredible. While the two were fighting, Leorio just arrived. I happened to see the scene where Rocky was using the Navy 6th form, that incredible attack, and kept attacking Hisoka. When Rocky jumped away, the wooden stick in Leorio's hand fell to the ground. This kid can fight monsters like Hisoka to such an extent. Chapter 7. In the eyes of Leorio OU. Just before, Hisoka's move to kill those people is gorgeous and at the same time shows Hisoka's strength, and he is completely different from him. And now Rocky's all kinds of strange attacks. He was able to fight back and forth with Hisoka, although looking at Hisoka's appearance, he seemed to be able to do it with ease. But even so, it made Leorio feel extremely shocked. This perverted brat. At this time, Hisoka looked at Rocky's expression as if he was about to be possessed. Awesome, incredible moves, terrifying talent, this kid is the perfect toy. Hisoka raised his hand and touched his forehead. No, you have to be patient, it would be a pity to kill this kid now. Squinting at Leorio. Originally this was a good toy, but compared to this little devil, it's too far behind. Who? I finally found you, Leorio. Gon's voice came out suddenly. Leorio, who was hiding at the side, was frightened by the sudden appearance of Gon. Both Hisoka and Rocky looked towards Leorio at the same time. Leorio, who was stared at by two monsters, groaned in his heart. He didn't think it was a good thing to be stared at by Hisoka like this. Gon, why are you here? Get out of here. I'm a little worried about you. I saw that you haven't caught up for a long time, so I came to find you. By the way, Kurapika and Rocky. Gon said and turned his head just in time to see Rocky. With a smile on his face, Gon waved to Rocky. Rocky ignored Gon and turned to look at Hisoka. Now Rocky isn't too afraid of Hisoka because he can run away with a moon step at any time. No matter how strong Hisoka is, he probably won't be able to catch himself in the air. Tick. Rocky's eyes narrowed suddenly. Hisoka in front of him suddenly disappeared, and then he felt a hand on his shoulder. A voice came from the ear. He. It's a pity to kill you now, let's complete the hunter exam. This way you will discover your true talents, I hope you become stronger faster, that's fun. Hisoka's voice appeared in his ear, and Rocky punched in the direction the voice came from. However, with one punch, it was empty. Hisoka's figure had long since disappeared. This scene made Rocky stunned in place, and did not move for a long time. Gon and Leorio ran towards Rocky after realizing that Hisoka was gone. Rocky, are you alright? Gon glanced at Rocky, who was motionless. Is that Hisoka? Yeah. He's right, but why did he disappear? Leorio looked around. It was only at this time that Rocky smiled slowly. The corners of his mouth rose slowly. It seems that I still underestimate these people. Read. Must learn as soon as possible. Looking down at the clothes on his body, Rocky was not injured in the previous battle, but this clothes did not seem to be suitable for combat. It is necessary to change into a suit that is more suitable for combat. Look at the dead people on the ground. Most are some fancy dress. However, Rocky found a nice white cape. Take off your clothes, the white cloak on the boat. Rocky, who put on the cloak, was stunned for a moment, as if he was a little bit the same as King Asakura Ye. Of course, if the hair is longer, it seems to be the shape of King Asakura. Watching Rocky change out of his clothes and put on a white cape, Leorio and Gon were a little bit confused about what he was doing. Why are you putting on this cloak? Rocky glanced back at Gon. It's nothing, it's just a little more convenient when fighting. The previous clothes will hinder the fight. Fight? Rocky, did you fight Hisoka? Thinking of Hisoka's terrifying strength, Gon's face also became a little dignified. Rocky answered indifferently and glanced at the two of them. The exam should be over soon, let's go to the venue for the second exam. On the way, Leorio looked at Rocky from time to time. Being scrutinized by Leorio's eyes, Rocky finally couldn't help but ask him, why are you looking at me like that? Leorio looked at Rocky a little embarrassedly, it's nothing, just the moves you did when I saw you fighting Hisoka earlier. What happened to the move? I'm just curious, can you tell me what those weird moves are about? Gon listened silently in the middle of the conversation between the two. For Leorio's curiosity, Rocky thinks it's normal, and moves like the Navy's sixth form appear in this world, everyone will be surprised. Then he opened his mouth and said, that is, 6 styles, which are divided into shaving, lancing feat, moonwalking, pointing gun, iron block, and paper painting. 6 moves, what were the moves you used before? I glanced at Leorio, who was so curious about the 6 forms. Rocky continued to answer, I didn't use it all, just used the shave, the moon step, the lanjiao, and the finger gun. It's an incredible move, where did you learn these moves from? Hearing this question, Rocky smiled, and it seemed that Leorio wanted to learn 6 forms. I am the only one in this world. Leorio, **. Chapter 8. Although successfully arrived at the venue of the second exam. But Leorio's mood is not very high. After seeing Rocky and Hisoka fight, he has begun to doubt his own strength. With his current strength, he doesn't have much confidence in whether he can become Hunter Leorio. At the venue of the second exam, Kurapika and Kilua also rushed over after seeing Rocky and others. Rocky, who knew the content of the second test, didn't plan to put any effort into it. Now Rocky's head is full of one thought. Learn to nin. You have to learn nin. This is the world of Hunter x Hunter, where the mind is the real power. Even with such a powerful technique as the 6 forms, it is absolutely impossible to win against an enemy like Hisoka. Mindfulness is the main theme. How to learn to read. Rocky already has an idea. He didn't want to spend a lot of time learning nin, so the only way was to have aura nodes opened by other people who learn to read, like Gon and Kilua. Quickly learn nin. The risk of learning mindfulness in this way is that if the flow of chi cannot be controlled once the mindfulness is exhausted, it will die. Rocky is not worried about this. With the talent of King Asakura Ye, as long as he learns to read and control it, it shouldn't be too troublesome. In addition to trying to figure out a way to learn nin as soon as possible, Rocky can't wait to complete the Hunter exam. It took too much time to complete the tasks of the Hunter exam step by step. Rocky doesn't feel safe now after seeing Hisoka's power that silently approaches him. So he didn't want to waste time on the Hunter exam if he could. The only chance for Rocky to quickly complete the assessment is President Netero's ball game. If you can grab the ball from Netero on the ship, wouldn't it be possible to quickly complete the Hunter exam? It's not an easy thing to steal the ball from Netero. However, it is not completely without chance, but there is only one chance. The first shot is possible to steal the ball in Netero's hand when he does not understand his own strength and relax. There is only one chance. Once it fails, Netero is serious. I am afraid it is impossible at all. Rocky is planning how to join the game of grabbing the ball in the subsequent plot and quickly complete the Hunter assessment. Kurapika next to him patted Rocky's shoulder. Are you alright? Rocky nodded. It's okay. Before, thank you. No. I also want to fight Hisoka to see how good I am. Thank you anyway, the second exam is about to start. The venue for the second exam is Biscayne Forest Park. The door opened slowly, and Sats had already left. Sats, who hid in the tree after leaving, looked at Rocky, Gon, and Kilua in the crowd of candidates. This year's Monster Kid, 3 at a time, it's incredible. The examiners for the second exam were Gourmet Hunter Menkai, and Baza. The content of the exam is also very simple, cooking. The designated ingredient for the dishes is pig. However, there is only one type of pig that lives in Biscayne Forest. Crazy Nose Pig. Although it is a pig, its fighting power is amazing. It's not that easy to catch. When the exam started, Rocky followed Gon and the others, looking for the horny pig. Gon, who grew up in the forest, took Rocky and his party to find a creature for the first time. But when Rocky and others found them, they were gnawing on the bone. Obviously, the horned mad pig is a carnivorous creature. And that huge body, and strange nose, don't look easy to mess with. Is this a pig too? Leorio froze for a moment. Kurapika, however, did not immediately prepare to escape, but took out her weapon and prepared to fight. Thanks to Rocky holding Hisoka down before, he was able to escape smoothly. This kindness Kurapika wants to repay in this exam. Kurapika rushed towards the nearest pig, and the wooden knife fell on the pig's huge nose, but it had no effect. The porcupine lunged, knocking Kurapika back. Got caught by Gon and Leorio. The defense of these pigs is also amazing. Leorio is still sighing. Gon looked at the wild pigs run. A group of wild boars rushed towards Rocky and the others. Gon they turned and ran away. And Rocky stepped on the moon and jumped to the sky. What kind of move is this? Kilua saw the moon step for the first time and was stunned by this strange step. Almost forgot to run away. Kurapika was also surprised. I can jump into the sky out of thin air. Is this the sixth form? Looking at Rocky jumping to the sky, Gon seemed very happy to see something incredible. 6 types. Kurapika and Kilua looked at Gon, wanting to ask. Rocky in the air had already aimed at a lone pig and swooped down. Bang! He kicked the pig in the head, knocking it out. At the same time, he said to Gon and others who were running away, the weakness is in the head, just attack the head. Asterisk. Chapter 9. So reminded by Rocky. Gon etal tried it. Sure enough, as long as you lightly attack the head of the horned mad pig, you can easily knock down these guys. Dong dong dong. One after another, the horned wild pigs fell. Gon held up a pig easily and thanked Rocky. Rocky, thank you, how did you find out that their weakness is in the head so quickly? Isn't this common sense? There are very few animals whose heads are not weak points. Rocky blinked and said lightly. Saying this, Kilua and the others looked as ugly as constipation. What Rocky said was indeed common sense, but they didn't expect such common sense, as if Rocky had completely suppressed his IQ. In fact, Rocky's statement is also correct, but for animals, if the head is not a weakness, it will be one of the first choices for attack. Holding the horned mad pig in one hand, he returned to the prepared cooking station in the park. Handle these pigs. Rocky casually left the pig on the table. I thought that I could just hand it over to the examiner. Anyway, no one will pass this test, and Netero needs to grow up to clean up the mess. Skewer the big-nosed pig and throw it on the grill. Fire up and get ready to roast. Although it's just a matter of catching a horny mad pig, a lot of candidates have been eliminated. After a fierce battle, the rest of the people discovered the weakness of the horned mad pig and successfully caught the prey. When Rocky was getting bored and ready to turn the roasted wild pig. Ding! The most beautiful sound in the world is the sound of the system. The task is triggered, and make dishes that Menkai approves. Rocky, who was immersed in joy 1 second, seemed to have fallen to the bottom in the next second. Make dishes that Menkai approves? This task is harder than getting Hisoka's approval. Rocky's cooking level is only barely able to make edible things, how can such cooking level be able to make dishes recognized by food hunter Menkai? Turn off the fire, and bring the crazy-nosed pig, which has just started roasting, to the cooking table. Rocky looked carefully at the horny pig in front of him. With his cooking level, no matter what method he uses, there is basically no possibility of cooking a horny pig. Bang! Try it! My cooking! The first candidate had placed the charred roast pig in front of Menchi. Bozi ate in a big mouth, and Menchi just glanced at it lightly, and gave the guy in front of him a big times. The candidates who were eager to pass, no matter what Menchi said, they kept taking their dishes and received red crosses from Menchi one after another. Even after Gon, Leorio, and Kurapika tried it out, they all ended up the same. From the first test taker, Rocky paid close attention to every word Menkai said. Although I don't know if Menchi really left it to the candidates to pass. But Rocky can only hope that Menchi has a way to pass the exam correctly, and this method is definitely not a real test of their cooking skills. Rocky, haven't you finished cooking yet? Gon watched Rocky stand motionless in front of the cooking table, and came over to ask. Rocky shook his head. I haven't figured out what to do yet. No idea what to do? Isn't there a grill? Having a grill doesn't necessarily mean that we make roast pigs. Rocky said this casually, but he seemed to wake himself up suddenly. The cooking station provided a huge grill, and Menki's request was only to make dishes that satisfied her. But they didn't say that they want to roast pigs, and these huge grills seem to be misleading those candidates who are greedy for convenience. Isn't that the case now? Anyone who does roast pigs is unqualified. Rocky glanced at some of the pork roast left on the Kurapika counter. Walked over. Kureka, can I have some? Kurapika nodded. Please use. Picked up a piece of meat and put it in his mouth. Rocky frowned. Seeing Rocky's expression, Kurapika's face was a little ugly. Is it really that bad? No. Rocky shook his head. No, it tastes good, but it doesn't taste any different from normal pork. Not bad. But there is no way to pass. I really don't know what kind of cooking she needs to make to satisfy her. Rocky smiled. Without speaking, he returned to his place. Look at the horny pig on the cooking table. He seemed to have an eyebrow already. Food hunter Menki. Ordinary pork, no matter how you look at it, shouldn't be a dish that can be recognized by a gourmet hunter like Menkai. Fire, boil water. Cut a piece of meat and put it in the water and cook it directly. A gourmet hunter like Menkai is definitely not looking for something delicious that can be made by simple cooking skills. Food hunter is looking for unique and surprising tastes that are rare in the world. The horned mad pig is a creature, and if it uses too complicated cooking methods, it may lose its original unique taste. There's no way to keep its original flavor. Rocky doesn't know. But the simplest cooking method should be able to its original taste. Boiled meat. No extra seasoning, just a pinch of salt. Soon a piece of ordinary boiled meat came out of the pot. Loaded and staged. This is my dish. Taste it. Chapter 10. The steaming hot boiled meat was placed in front of Menkai. The other students all looked over here. I found out that the dishes made by Rocky are just simple boiled meat. They all laughed from below. Little devil, you underestimate the hunter exam too. Do you want to pass the hunter exam with so little meat and such simple cooking? Humph. A kid is a kid, and it's too naive. My elaborate cooking, even if it is not much worse than that of a professional chef, still fails to pass. Do you want to pass such a simple cooking? It's too whimsical. A kid of this age may not even know how to use kitchen utensils. Ignoring these people, Rocky just looked at Menki. Sitting on the sofa, Menchi was about to be tortured crazy by the candidates. Seeing the food that Rocky brought up, the corners of his mouth finally rose. The Bha Thorn behind him was also stunned for a moment. Small and chic porcelain plate. A palm-sized piece of meat. Very clean and bright cutlery wiped. Although there is no complicated layout, it looks very clean and tidy. Finally a nice guy. Menki glanced at Rocky. Little devil. Not bad. Menchi, let me try it first. Cut off a small piece of bagthorn and put it in your mouth with a fork. Just chewed it a little and swallowed it. Good to eat. Menkai also does not have any expectations for the taste of bagpur. Although Rocky is the only candidate so far who has given up cooking with fire, she won't pass if the taste doesn't meet her minimum requirements. Cut a small piece and put it in your mouth. Menkai paused after chewing. Half down his head and raised his eyes to look at Rocky. Why did you choose this way of cooking? Menki's question made the candidates below quiet down. This was the only time Menchi did not lift the plate after so many candidates submitted the dishes, but instead asked questions. Some candidates who responded quickly had already noticed something was wrong. Menki's reaction made Rocky feel funny too. Mission may be completed. He opened his mouth and Rocky spoke calmly. I'm not proficient in cooking, this is the only way I can think of to preserve the taste as much as possible. Well. I see. Men-chi nodded and turned to look at Bha Ting. Bha Thorn put the rest of Men-ki flesh in his mouth, and held up a pass sign in his hand. UBD, you can totally accept it no matter how unpalatable it is. After complaining about her companion, Men-chi turned to look at Rocky. Do you know how your food tastes? Rocky shook his head. I haven't eaten it. Whether it's good or bad, it's the food I made with all my strength, so I didn't try it. Looked Rocky up and down. Men-chi glanced at his mouth. Your cooking is extremely unpalatable. Ha ha ha. I just said, how could a brat cook a meal that passes the exam? The Schadenfreude candidates below are smiling. Even if you pass this time. What? The students couldn't stop laughing. Unpalatable food can pass, what the hell, am I entertaining us? What are you kidding me, since you said it was bad, why did you let him pass? I've had enough of this kind of test. Give me peace. Men-chi suddenly roared, suppressing all the candidates. Bang bang. I don't know where. I took out 2 kitchen knives and stuck them on the wooden table in front of me. Men-chi stepped on the wooden table and put his hands on his hips. Whoever wants to give me nonsense will directly deprive him of his qualifications for the exam. The sturdy Men-ki gesture made the candidates stunned. Seeing that the people below did not speak, Men-chi sat down again. Humph. Now the exam continues. Men-chi said and glanced at Rocky. This time, you barely passed. Although your cooking tastes unpalatable, it is not the problem of your cooking, but the taste of the ingredients itself. I'm gourmet hunter. This dish is very well cooked. You retain the taste of the ingredients very well, which makes the taste extremely unpalatable. But the taste of food is different. You have preserved the taste of the ingredients very well, which perfectly meets the requirements of a food hunter, so you pass. Rocky nodded, turned his head and walked off stage. Men-chi on the stage looked at the others. There is still the same kind of cuisine, and I won't pass it a second time here, so I advise you not to imitate this little devil's method. Why? Men-ki words made the candidates who were going to imitate Men-ki practice stop their movements one after another. Start to make noise again. At this moment, Rocky didn't have the heart to pay attention to the noise of these guys. Instead, focus on the system. At the moment he passed, the system also heard the prompt tone for the completion of the task. Mission completed. Reward B-level character item extraction. Drawing. Congratulations to the host for winning 3 fairy beans from the Dragon Ball World Cat Fairy. Rocky saw an item bar appear on the interface of the system. The lock on the first grid was opened, and a pattern of fairy beans appeared. There was also a 3-character pattern in the lower right corner. I've drawn fairy beans, it's okay, this thing has a good life-saving effect. Asterisk. Chapter 11. Gon, did you fail again? Rocky sat on the cooking table and watched Gon come back with a plate of dark dishes that he didn't know what it was. Dejected Gon was a little anxious. Although you, Rocky, have told us how to pass the trial, I still can't make a satisfactory meal. Half an hour after Rocky passed, the candidates also understood Men-ki intention. However, except for Rocky who passed the assessment at the beginning, the others still couldn't think of a way to cook dishes that Men-ki recognized. Could it be that Rocky is the only one who can pass this trial? Leorio came over with his giant oversized topping burger. Kurapika also sighed, maybe. If this goes on, everyone except Rocky will fail. Kilua also jumped onto the counter and sat down, squinting at Rocky. You're a lucky guy. It's impossible for only one person to pass. If that's the case, I don't think the subsequent assessment will be necessary. As Rocky spoke, a flying ship appeared in the sky. Rocky looked up at the appearance of the flying ship, with a slight smile on the corner of his mouth. Here. What's coming? Gon asked. A shadow fell in the sky. Boom! A loud bang. Suddenly everyone looked in that direction. What? Da-da-da! The footsteps sounded slowly, and the dust and smoke dissipated. A white-haired old man appeared in front of everyone. Just kidding. An old man jumped from that height. Who is this guy? Menchi was stunned for a moment and stepped forward. President, why are you here? I heard that you are going to end the exam. There is only one candidate who passed the exam this time. Menchi nodded. Yes, only one person passed the test, all the others failed. That's it. President Netero stroked his beard with a hook. But the Hunter Association has not successfully passed the assessment for many years. This time, Sats said that there are many good guys. If only one person passed, it seems a little too harsh. Netero stared at Menchi. If you insist on saying that there is only one person who can pass, but I think you should consider it carefully. Are there really no other candidates who can pass? He bowed his head and thought for a moment. Sorry, President, I made a mistake in judgment because of the candidate's words. When it comes to cooking, I will become irrational. After bowing and apologizing, Menchi stood up again. Since this is the case, then I will give them a new assessment content. Boiled eggs. Netero nodded. Menkai then borrowed Netero's flying boat to transport the candidates to a canyon. The content of the exam has been changed, but Rocky, a candidate who has already passed, can no longer participate. Rocky on the ship. Take out the quest reward fairy beans and take a look. It's nothing special, just a green bean, but it's not as effective as a regular bean. Put the fairy beans back into the item space. It's quite convenient to have such an item space. Rocky looked at President Netero below with the candidates. Wait until this exam is over. It was his only chance to finish the Hunter exam quickly. After Gon gets on the boat, you have to follow Gon properly. Can't miss President Netero's test. Waiting for Gon and others to complete the trial. In the end, under Menkai's compromise, the number of passers in the second Hunter exam, including Rocky, was 43. All of a sudden it was reduced to dozens of people. This is just the second test. The difficulty of the Hunter exam lives up to its reputation. More than 40 qualified candidates boarded Netero's flying boat and headed to the venue for the third trial. During this period, the flying ship still needs to fly for a long time. The energetic Gon, Kilua, and Rocky, who follow them, embark on a big adventure on the flying boat. The examiner who has finished the exam is also resting in a certain room on the flying boat. How many people do you think will pass this year? Menchi asked. In the past few years, there have been 0 passers in the Hunter exam, and this time there may not be too many. After Baga finished speaking, he turned his head and glanced at Sats. Sat thinks so. I don't know how many qualified people there are, but I'm more optimistic about those little devils. Little devil? Boa was stunned for a moment. The only one who passed Menki test was also a little devil. He has good observation skills. He was able to pass Menki test. He is a little devil with great potential. Besides him, there's the kid on the 99th, and the kid on the 405th. After he finished speaking, Sachi took a sip of his coffee, wondering where he got the coffee without a mouth. In short, this year's newcomers feel pretty good. But speaking of that candidate Rocky number 133, although he is a rookie, he feels a little strange to me. Menchi looked at the two of them. I don't know if you guys feel this way. What a strange feeling. Sats also recalled, Rocky's performance was excellent and his potential was huge, and he also felt a little strange, although Rocky's strength was not enough to threaten their examiners. But he always felt a vague sense of danger in his body. Asterisk. Chapter 12. With that kid's strength, it shouldn't be a problem to pass the trial. Sats said, but his face became solemn, but I don't know whether it is right or wrong to make such a person a hunter. What's the meaning? Both Menkai and Baza did not understand what Sats said. Meanwhile on the flying boat, Kilua was talking to Gon about the situation at home. And Gon also introduced Kilua to Whale Island. Finally it was Rocky's turn. Rocky blinked and looked at the two of them. I have nothing to say, an ordinary poor small country. Where's the family? Gon asked. All dead. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Rocky shook his head and looked at Gon. It's nothing, it's all in the past, and it's nothing to worry about, maybe their death is a relief. It seems that because Rocky's family is dead, Kilua's attitude towards Rocky has gotten a little better. Although he was a member of the assassination family, Kilua fell to the ground and did not turn into a completely cold-blooded guy. While the three were chatting, suddenly there was a murderous aura from behind. The three of them looked back in that direction at the same time. However, no one was found. What's wrong? Netero suddenly appeared behind the three. The three looked back at Netero. Netero's reaction to the trio was as if he had found some kind of fun toy. He began to test the three of them intentionally or unintentionally. Rocky stood by and didn't say much, just stared at Netero silently. The ball game is about to start. The opportunity to complete the task ahead of schedule has come. Just when Rocky thought about it. Why don't you, let's play a game. As long as you can beat me in the game, you will directly qualify as a hunter, how about that? It is good. Rocky agreed before Gon this time. Gon also nodded, I agree too. Rocky and Gon both agreed, and Kilua agreed with a cold face. The four came to a sports room in the flying boat. Closing the door, Netero pulled out a ball, took off his shirt, and stood barefoot in a black vest. The game is very simple. As long as you take this ball away from me, even if you win, you will be eligible for Hunter without having to participate in the subsequent trials. Gon and Kilua finished listening to the rules. Rocky took off his white cloak on the side, topless, and the perfect muscle lines emerged. Although he is still 12 years old, he has gained the power of King yet. Rocky's current body can no longer be measured by the standards of ordinary people. I'll come first. Okay. Netero squinted at Rocky. This time, the newcomer, candidate number 133 Rocky, is the only kid who passed the Men-Chi test. He was able to pass the Men-Chi test. This kid has good observation and analysis skills, and is a good talent. But I felt Rocky's breath carefully. Netero's face became serious. This kind of air seems to be a great threat to me, this kid is a little weird. Then, President Netero, I'll start. Rocky moved his limbs. Gon and Kilua do it, Gon makes a cheering gesture to Rocky. Rocky, make sure you get the ball. Don't underestimate this old man, he's not easy. Kilua also reminded Rocky. Rocky nodded, Netero's terrifying power, how could he not know? The source of the heart, the ability to practice a cumbersome movement to the extreme, become impeccable and almost perfect posture, such an old man is simply a humanoid monster. Netero should be able to reach the level of S rank even in the system. No matter how bad it is still A level. If you want to get the ball from his hands, you must first let him relax his vigilance. The only chance is when Netero relaxes his vigilance and burst out with Netero's unexpected power to steal the ball, otherwise there would be no chance. Then use normal power to numb the old man first. After Rocky thought about it, charged directly towards Netero. The speed of this moment of eruption is very fast. Far more than the average person can do. In terms of explosive performance, Netero raised his brows a little, it's explosive, not bad. Netero just shook his body a little, and immediately ducked. Rocky was swayed, turned around and stepped on the ground in an instant, changing direction and rushing towards Netero again. The speed of Rocky's explosion now almost makes Rocky look like a black shadow. It's amazing, Rocky's speed, so fast. Gon widened his eyes in surprise and smiled. Kilua was also a little surprised. With such a speed, it is already on par with me. This guy has received any special training since he was a child. In his heart, he recognized Rocky's strength, but Kilua said arrogantly, the speed is good, but unfortunately the speed can't help the old man. Netero kept dodging, not even leaving a foot in place. And Rocky kept rushing towards Netero, to no avail. Chapter 13. Bang bang bang. In the sports room, there is a constant sound. The two figures inside kept staggering. For dozens of minutes, the continuous attack was all dodged by Netero. Rocky's conservativeness kept Netero's foot in place. 10 minutes later, Rocky stopped and looked at Gon and Kilua. It's your turn. Tired? Boy. Netero laughed. It's just a substitution. It can't be me playing all the time. Gon and Kilua can't wait too long. Rocky walked over and sat down. Looking at Rocky's face, Gon thought that Rocky was unhappy because he couldn't grab the ball, so he comforted Rocky, don't worry about it, as long as you keep cheering, you will definitely be able to grab the ball. Hearing Gon's safety suddenly, Rocky was stunned for a moment, then smiled helplessly, it's up to you now. Gon nodded. Kilua stood up. Change me. Come on Kilua, one person for 10 minutes, the next one is me. Gon also wanted to hurry up. But his words were in Kilua's ears, as if he was saying that he would definitely not be able to grab the ball. Kilua, who was a little angry with a cold face, secretly said in his heart, damn Gon, how dare you underestimate me, hey! I must grab the ball and end the game. Kilua didn't rush up like Rocky, but walked slowly around Netero. Next second, one after another phantoms appeared behind Kilua. What is this? It's amazing, it seems that you can see a lot of Kilua. Gon was surprised at the same time. Rocky also felt incredible. This assassination technique seems to be no worse than the sixth form. Netero was also surprised that Kilua had mastered such a difficult skill at his age. You can see how terrifying his talent is. But Kilua seized the moment and attacked suddenly from Netero's line of sight. He rushed towards the ball in Netero's hand. The speed that burst out in an instant is almost the same as Rocky's speed just now. However, just as his hands were about to touch the ball, Netero just lifted the ball slightly. Kilua's body threw itself towards him and threw himself in the air. After regaining his footing, Kilua looked back at Netero with dead fish eyes. Netero's actions just now were definitely playing tricks on him. Being underestimated by Netero, the angry Kilua kept attacking the ball. However, the same 10 minutes were also teased by Netero. Kilua walked down and sat next to Gon. It's up to you, this old man is so nasty. Gon smiled shyly, don't worry about it. It will be successful. When it was Gon's turn, he jumped and hit the ceiling. Although Gon's jumping ability is very good, but some are not very controllable. It made Netero stunned for a moment, then he laughed. At this moment, Rocky's eyes flickered. It seems to be a way. But after thinking about it, it's normal for Gon to do such a thing with such a personality, but if it was his mistake, it might cause Netero's vigilance. Not necessarily. Therefore, methods like Gon to distract each other's attention are not suitable for Rocky to use. Gon's 10 minutes passed quickly. Rocky's turn is next, followed by Kilua. After 3 rotations, Kilua's mentality finally collapsed. Being played by an old man for so long was a bit too hard on Kilua's arrogant heart. And Kilua couldn't help but want to kill Netero, and gave up the game voluntarily. After Kilua left, only Rocky and Gon were left. Gon only noticed that one of Netero's feet hadn't left the spot until Kilua left. Gon's goal shifted from grabbing the ball to letting Netero use his left foot. One less person, then you two go together. Seeing Kilua leave, Netero spoke. The previous 3, if they joined forces together, would be a little difficult to deal with if he didn't use his mind, but now if there were only Rocky and Gon left, it wouldn't be a big problem. Hear what Netero has to say. Rocky smiled, no need, President Netero, let's do it one by one. 2 against you and 1, it's not fair. Gon wanted to agree, but he nodded after hearing what Rocky said. Although Netero's strength is very strong, Gon doesn't want to take advantage of it, and the other party is still an old grandpa. Netero laughed dumbly, okay. Whatever you want, but it's 100 years too early for any of you to take something from me. Next is Rocky's turn. Rocky is now engrossed, paving the way for a few hours, just for now. Knight already thought that he had figured out his strength, and his vigilance was greatly reduced. Now is his time to grab the ball. Just need to find a flaw in Netero, and suddenly burst into full force, maybe you can grab it. Bang bang! Rocky moved at a high speed, the same speed as before. Holding the ball, Netero, who had already seen through Rocky's movements, dodged Rocky at will. Charged in front of Netero, Netero dodged, Rocky fell behind Netero. It's now, asterisk. Chapter 14. Although for Netero, the back is no longer a dead end. But there are certain effects. Netero, who even thought he saw through Rocky's actions. Even without turning around, he is confident that with his back to Rocky, he can easily dodge Rocky's attack. That's Rocky's chance. With his back turned to him, Netero could feel the direction of his attack, but he couldn't see Rocky's movements. Shave. Stepping on the ground many times within 0.36 seconds, the resulting acceleration can burst into an amazing speed. However, with Rocky's physique, it does not even take 0.36 seconds to perform a shave, only 0.2 seconds is enough. Bang! The moment the sound of shaving appeared, Rocky had already accelerated to the limit behind Netero. At this moment, Netero was taken aback. After a few hours of rushing and dodging, Netero thought Rocky was the fastest. However, the speed of Rocky's sudden burst made Netero feel a little overwhelmed. Rocky's hand grabbed towards the ball in Netero's hand. It almost seemed to touch the ball. Netero didn't have time to dodge now, and suddenly the ball in his hand was thrown upwards. Cunning boy, isn't all the speed shown before, the purpose is to let me relax my vigilance. Nice patience. After being surprised, Netero was not only not angry, but very happy. A good hunter must learn to be patient. Rocky frowned. Netero actually threw the ball out to avoid being grabbed by him, but Rocky wouldn't just give up. Moon's step. Dong dong. Rocky stepped on the moon and suddenly accelerated towards the ball above, chasing after him, with no speed at all. Stepping on air, accelerated moon steps out of thin air. Let Netero completely unexpected. Even he was very shocked by this kind of skill. I thought that the inhabitants of the dark world, little Kilua's talent was strong enough, but I didn't expect the old man to misunderstand. This kid's talent is more terrifying than the previous kid. Looking at Rocky stepping in the air step by step and accelerating towards the ball. This kind of skill can already be called a miracle. After Netero finished speaking in his mind, he raised his hand to Rocky, what a great kid. It was able to force me to the point where it was actually planted. Send. Boom. In an instant, a powerful thought burst out from Netero's body, like a substantial shock wave. Rushed to Rocky, and incidentally changed the trajectory of the ball. Rocky's body was slammed by Netero's hair, though it didn't take much damage. But the powerful shock wave made Rocky's body suddenly slow down. Damn old man! Looking at the ball that fell away in the distance. Netero below has already moved ahead towards where the ball is falling. Rocky gritted his teeth at this moment. Life returns. Swoosh! The hair on Rocky's head, neither long nor short, seemed to come alive in an instant. Like a spirit snake, it winds towards the ball. The sudden long hair made Netero's movements stop. Nan. Netero shook his head. No, it's not Nan, there are no fluctuations in mental energy. What kind of skill is this? There is no non-fluctuation, but the hair is inexplicably lengthened, with a technique that even Netero has never heard of. In a moment of loss, Rocky's hair was about to wrap around the ball. At this time, Gon also stood up excitedly and said to himself, "It's almost." Rocky stepped on the moon step, and tried to move closer to the ball. It all just happens in an instant. Netero stopped abruptly. What a tough kid. After he finished speaking, there was a sudden burst of anger on his feet. Boom! In an instant, Netero accelerated and charged towards the ball with super fast speed. At his speed, he is bound to grab the ball one step ahead of Rocky. The ball flying in the air is still spinning. Seeing Netero rush up, Rocky's eyes narrowed, and life returned to control his hair, turning into sharp thorns. Return of life, stab with spear. Swoosh! Using the finger pistol he used in his hair, he shot continuously towards Netero, who was rushing up from the ground. Netero's eyes changed, and he could feel the attack formed by these hairs, which was quite powerful. There is absolutely no way to stop it if you use your body to resist. These attacks can only be blocked by the use of mind. Able to perform attacks that threaten the Nin, how did this kid learn these terrifying moves? Netero's hand instantly flashed a mass of thought. The hands covered with Niankai are like sharp blades, easily tearing these hairs apart. But the moment Netero broke through from Rocky's attack, Rocky's hand was almost touching the ball. It happened. The moment Netero shouted this out, bang! A loud bang suddenly appeared. Thoughtful. Netero suddenly burst out with terrifying thoughts, and the walls around the room were shattered. Netero, who grabbed the ball, turned back suddenly. Not good. Chapter 15. Netero's thoughts exploded. The terrifying destructive power caused, even if it is not a real attack, is just a pure thought impact. It also has a terrifying effect. The entire room was destroyed as if it had been bombed by a strong bomb. At the moment when the thoughts burst out, the entire airship vibrated violently in an instant. The candidates who were resting on the ship were awakened by the huge noise. What happened? What happened? The flying ship was hit. At such a high altitude, if something happened to the flying boat, it would be a sure death for these candidates. In a certain room, Hisoka is building a tower of cards. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, looking at the tower of cards that collapsed in front of him, Hisoka slowly turned his head and looked in the direction of the burst of thought. In addition to shock, his eyes were filled with excitement and uncontrollable excitement. LOL. Ilmi, who changed her appearance, turned her head to look at Hisoka. The uncontrollable murderous aura on Hisoka gushed out frantically. In the lounge, the examiners were drinking coffee and eating pastries. Sassy, Menkai, and Boissy all looked at each other suspiciously. That was just now, President? Bagashi asked uncertainly. Menchi nodded. It should be, it can't be wrong, but why? The President wants to use his mind on the flying boat. Did he meet any terrible opponent? An opponent? Sats smiled. Don't be kidding, that monster, how could there be an opponent? Come and see. Baga suggested. Both nodded. At the same time, in the sports room, Gon collapsed in the corner with a few blood spots on his face, but it wasn't serious. On the other side, Rocky fell deeply into the ground. Netero's psychic impact, Rocky's impact was dozens of times stronger than Gon's. He was too close to Netero, and was thoroughly initiated by Netero's thoughts. There were tiny wounds all over Rocky's body. Almost every part has 5 or 6 wounds. Netero fell to the ground, glanced at Gon, and walked towards Rocky. Oops, I was too anxious for a while, I couldn't control my thoughts, that distance was hit by my thoughts, I'm afraid a kid. Rocky's body fell into the ground, unable to move, and now his consciousness is a little blurry. Every bone in the body seemed to be cracked, and the piercing pain swept through Rocky's body. Read. Is this the power of thought? Rocky now finally has a clear idea of the power of reading. A person who cannot read is as vulnerable as a piece of paper in front of Nen. Just being hit by neon impact, Rocky felt like his body was slammed head-on by a high-speed truck. Makes Rocky feel like he's about to die. The Rocky who was hit did not feel at all another thing. When Netero's thoughts entered Rocky's body unimpeded. Although horrific damage to Rocky's body, but it also opened up all the aura nodes in Rocky's body. Netero quickly came to Rocky's side, ready to pull Rocky up. Boom! The sea without waves seems to be swept up by a gust of wind. A shocking giant wave suddenly slapped. Endless thoughts surged out of Rocky's body. Buzzing! One after another, strong thoughts rushed towards the surrounding frantically. Netero's hand was just about to touch Rocky. Moment! The thoughts in Rocky rushed out. Like a gust of wind swept away, the thoughts roared and roared. Netero jumped away instantly, his eyes narrowing sharply. Is this because I was infused with my mind and opened up the aura nodes, awakened mind? When thinking like this, Rocky's thoughts spread wildly, almost approaching Gon in the corner in a breath. Netero hurriedly jumped over, grabbed Gon, and rushed out the door. The moment Netero escaped from the room. Bang! With a loud bang, the room was hit again, just like before. Cracks in the walls began to spread again. President Netero, are you all right? At this time, Menkai, Basi, and Sazi arrived, just to see Netero jumping out of the room with Gon in his arms. Then an invisible wave erupted from the room, and the familiarity spread in all directions. This wave, like a transparent circle, enveloped everyone on the flying boat in just a few breaths. All staff and candidates on board the flight without exception. All were shrouded in invisible fluctuations caused by Rocky's sudden awakening. This is... The three of Menchi stopped in their tracks. Their eyes moved from Netero to the room where the loud noise was coming. Cold sweat broke out on the foreheads of the three of them, there was a strong shock in their eyes, and an incredible expression appeared on their faces. When they saw Netero, it meant that the idea of terror did not come from Netero. So who is it that has such a terrifying thought? Chapter 16. Sats opened his mouth. Yes. President, inside is. Netero put the unconscious Gon on the sofa in the hallway outside. He turned his head and looked at the three of them. With a sigh, it seems that the old man is in trouble. President, what's the matter, what did you do? Menkai looked at Netero suspiciously. A president of the Hunter Association, with the monster-like power of the opponent, is there anything to be afraid of? The fluctuations of thoughts are still breaking out, and they are constantly beating like a tide. But compared to the moment of the previous outbreak, it seems much milder now. Turning around, Netero looked at the room where Rocky was. The old man seems to have accidentally awakened Nen. The voice fell. The expressions of the three men suddenly froze. Sats's brows twitched a few times. Help people forcibly awaken Nen. If the awakened person cannot quickly control these constantly overflowing thoughts, he will soon exhaust the chi in his body and die. Such an awakening method, although quick, also carries great risks. Almost 99% of people, after awakening in various ways, are unable to control the power that is constantly overflowing in their bodies. In the end, he was exhausted and died. However, the three felt even more incredible after hearing it. A person who has just awakened to mind can actually burst out such terrifying fluctuations of mind energy. Before they thought Netero had encountered some kind of enemy. The person who thought that the person who sent out that terrifying energy wave was a powerful Nen. I didn't expect it to be just a person who just awakened Nen. There is such momentum just after awakening, and such talent is too scary. Basa thought back to his learning of Nen. After going through all the hardships, even now, he can only explode his thoughts with all his strength in front of him, reaching the level of talent just now. Sats and Menki. The two were also curious. What kind of guy is he that causes such a terrifying scene when he wakes up? And Netero is helpless now. The awakening of the mind is easy, but if Rocky can't help control the runaway mind, Rocky will eventually die because of him. Walk up to Rocky's room. When Netero moved, the three examiners behind him silently followed. Is there a way for the president to help people seal the open aura nodes? Menkai asked. The three of them couldn't do anything about it. Netero paused, look at it and talk about it. The closer you get to Rocky, the more powerful you feel. The rushing thoughts and actions became a huge resistance. It's like moving forward in water. As Netero and others continued to approach, when they came to the door of the room, the resistance has been greatly increased, and the four of them have to display their own thoughts in order to block the continuous shocking wave of thoughts overflowing from Rocky. Came into the room under pressure. The room has now become fragmented. With the continuous impact of Rocky's thoughts, the surrounding walls are constantly cracking. If this continues, it is very likely that Rocky's thoughts will destroy the entire spaceship. As soon as they entered the room, everyone's eyes were locked on Rocky, who was lying in the center of the room. It's him. Meng Qi was surprised. The person who was forcibly opened by the president turned out to be Rocky. In the previous exam, Meng Qi was very concerned about Rocky, the only qualified kid from her first trial, left a deep influence on Meng Qi. There is no doubt about Rocky's potential, but now he may die just because of President Netero. This. President, what happened to you? Sats, who also paid attention to Rocky, never thought that such a potential candidate would encounter such a thing. Netero sighed, let's not talk about this for now, I will try to wake him up and help him control his thoughts. If that doesn't work, contact the people in the association and ask people to find the person with the sealnan and be ready at any time. After nodding, Sats decided to quit and contact the Hunter Association. Just in time. Rocky sat up. Woke up. Netero froze for a moment. Being hit by his thoughts at close range, he was able to wake up so quickly. The physique of a kid is so strong. Squeeze the surprise in your heart. Netero hurriedly said to Rocky, boy, don't move now, you listen carefully to what I'm going to say next, it can help you quickly control the power in your body, otherwise if you keep doing this, you will soon run out of energy, and then die, do as I say, first. The words are not over yet. Rocky stood up slowly. Feel the power that is constantly surging from far away. Rocky's eyes were gleaming, I just read. Not only that. Even Rocky found that his thoughts were rapidly getting stronger. A warm current was flowing in his body at a high speed, and every time he turned around, Rocky found that his thoughts became stronger. This feeling is all too familiar to Rocky, isn't it the first time before, the same feeling when the system gave him the power of King Asakura Ye? Could it be that the awakening of Neon has caused King Asakura Ye's huge magic power to be converted into Neon? Chapter 17. When he obtained the power of King Makura Ye before, Rocky hadn't discovered the magic power of King Makang yet. Unexpectedly, it would take until he awakened and before this power would awaken. Don't move. Boy. Rocky didn't listen, leaving Netero to snarl. Now is not the time for you to observe this power, listen to the old man's words, then you must keep your body. After saying that, Netero's voice slowly stopped. The expression on his face suddenly froze. Dazed eyes stared at Rocky. The three behind. Menkai, Sats, and Basser also seemed to have stopped. His eyes seemed to see something incredible. Rocky in the room. At this time, the thoughts in the body have stopped constantly erupting. Instead, it was easily controlled by Rocky. Continue to gather towards the fist. Read the application skills, condensate. A large number of thoughts are constantly gathered on the fist, and the light of the thoughts is constantly increasing. The air around him created a small vortex around Rocky's fist. With the continuous accumulation of thoughts, the power of this blow is constantly strengthened. If you are not careful, the entire flying ship will be destroyed. Netero rushed towards Rocky. Boy, don't mess around. Be careful. At this moment, Rocky opened his 5 fingers, and the thoughts originally condensed on Rocky's fists emerged in Rocky's palms and gathered into a group of thoughts. Rocky looked back at Netero, who was gradually stopping, and knew that the other party was worried that he would accidentally destroy the entire airship. So he gently put down his hand, and the thought group disappeared instantly. It can be freely retracted, and the skilled is like a guy who has practiced reading for decades. At this time, Netero and others seemed to be numb. After awakening, there are people who can quickly control Nin. Although such a genius is rare, it is not enough to surprise the 4. But just after awakening, he was able to control Nin at will, as skilled as instinct. Such a perverted talent makes the 4 completely incomprehensible. A variety of application skills of reading, even a person with excellent talent. It also requires a lot of practice to be able to master it proficiently. But here in Rocky, he was able to control his thoughts so easily just after awakening. The difference is like the distance between the sky and the earth. Puff! Menchi fell to the ground. A helpless smile gradually appeared on the numb face. Is this kid a monster? Indeed, I have never seen anyone with such a terrifying talent for Nian like him. Bagashi looked moved. I didn't expect to see someone with such a perverted talent. The world is so big that all kinds of monsters exist. Sats looked away from Rocky and moved to Netero. Originally, he thought that there could be no second monster in the world like Netero. But now a younger monster appeared in front of him, making him question his talent on Nin. Is it the unqualified kind? Even Netero was looking at Rocky with surprise now. His own mind is the realm he has reached after 1,000 trials and tribulations, but now when someone starts, he has directly swept the normal distance he has traveled, directly reaching an incredible level. How could such talent not be surprising? Even a pervert who has cultivated to his level cannot remain calm. Rocky pulled the mind back into his body, feeling the growing mind in his body. King Asakura Ye's huge magic power, trying to convert all of it into thoughts, it seems that there is no way to complete it for a while. But for the control of mind, Rocky felt no suffering at all. With King Asakura Ye's experience in controlling the power of magic, for Rocky, psychic energy is another form of magic power. Controlling thoughts couldn't be easier. It's as simple as eating and drinking. Now Rocky opened his eyes to look at Netero. President, continue the game? I couldn't get it before, and now I want to try again. When Netero and others were surprised by Rocky's ghostly talent, they didn't expect Rocky's first sentence to be this. The 3 examiners were somewhat confused. What game? Speaking of looting what? Could it be that this accident was because of this game? The 3 of them guessed well, and if it wasn't for the game proposed by Netero, it would be impossible for Rocky to wake up. Ha 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 ha! Netero laughed, stroked his beard and looked at Rocky. There is no need to continue the previous game. If you really want to grab the ball now, it shouldn't be too difficult. After all, I'm not fighting and I don't want to hurt you again. Hearing Netero say this, Rocky's eyes brightened. So, even if it's me, you win. Then I don't have to participate in the next trial. That's right, you're a hunter now. I'll have someone send you your hunter license as soon as possible. Having said that, Netero squinted at Rocky, but there is one more thing, I want to ask you. What's up? Would you like to be my disciple? Rocky didn't speak. The 3 examiners behind him were stunned. Netero, the old monster, actually wants to accept an apprentice, asterisk. Chapter 18. Violent turmoil on the flying ship. Make all the candidates unable to rest and become restless. Fortunately, the continuous turmoil stopped shortly after. At this time, everyone hung their hearts and finally fell. But the current candidates have no intention to continue resting, and everyone wants to figure out what happened just now. Even the captain of the airship contacted Netero to ask him what happened. Netero had no choice but to find 2 excuses to perfunctory the captain. Returned to the 3 examiners in the lounge. He was sitting on the sofa as if his whole body was out of strength. Just now they saw the birth of a monster. The impact on their hearts was too strong. Now, almost all 3 of Menchi have some degree of doubts about their talents. But even more terrifying. The old monster, who took the little monster as his apprentice, does not know what kind of terrifying monsters will be cultivated in the future. As soon as they thought of this, the 3 felt that with their now barren imaginations, they could not imagine that kind of scene. Menchi, I'm starting to feel that my practice is too little, and I must strengthen my practice. Bha Thorn said with a bit of hammerhead dejection. Menchi lay on the sofa yet. What are you 2 doing? If you want to compare with monsters, I'm curious what the future Hunter Association will look like. Sats has a lot to say about the current Hunter Guild. But that's all things that can't be done. It's different now. The appearance of Rocky may bring earth-shaking changes to the Hunter Association, but it's not necessarily true. There has been some anticipation for the changes in the Hunter Association. On the flying boat, Kilua ran fast. The vibration on the spaceship just now made him a little worried about Gon's situation. So he quickly ran towards the previous exercise room. Soon Kilua turned a corner, and a familiar figure appeared in front of him. Gon. Rocky, are you all okay? Kilua went to the sofa where Gon was sitting and glanced at the 2 of them. Gon had several small wounds on his face. But no big deal. Gon rubbed his swollen head and smiled at the sudden appearance of Kilua. It's okay, it's just that I was just trying to grab the ball with President Netero. As a result, there was a little accident. It seems that the president didn't control his own strength. There is no control over the power. It's okay to lie to Gon, but it's full of loopholes for Kilua. Kilua has seen the ability of that old man. He said that the old man was unable to control his strength because he was dealing with a few of them. Is it possible? Unless something unexpected happened to Netero, the old man suddenly burst out with terrifying power. From the look of Gon, Kilua knew that Gon could not have caused it. Then only Rocky is left. Glancing at Rocky secretly, Rocky doesn't have any injuries now. How was the result of your game? Kilua stared at Rocky. Okay. I won. Rocky said lightly. Really? Gon stood up abruptly. Rocky actually won. So, Rocky can get the status of hunter directly without participating in the trial. Yet. It should be like this. After all, he is the president of the Hunter Association, so he doesn't know what to say. Amazing. Gon smiled. Kilua, who was next to him, stared at Rocky, and he really let Rocky win. The old man couldn't even take him. Rocky won. The arrogant Kilua turned her head away from Rocky. He was a little unconvinced, and now he still thinks that he is no weaker than Rocky, but the other party could succeed, but he gave up, which made him reluctant to accept it. Rocky suddenly felt Kilua's thoughts, which made him stunned for a moment. But now is not the time to care about that. Gon, you also have a good rest. There is still a 3rd trial. I can't continue to participate in the next trial. Come on, I believe in your abilities, and it will be no problem to become a hunter. Gon nodded, and Kilua turned away from Rocky. After saying that, Rocky turned to leave. Now he needs to find a place to rest. At the same time, his mission accomplished. Completing the hunter exam and obtaining the hunter qualification has prompted him to complete it. The quest is complete when Netero confirms his hunter status. What is the next reward for completing the mission? Rocky is looking forward to it now. There are not many rooms on the flying boat, and most of the candidates only sleep in the hall of the flying boat. And because Rocky was directly qualified as an official hunter by Netero, he was also accepted as a disciple, and naturally he could have a room to rest alone. Come to a room for yourself to rest. Rocky opens the system directly. Congratulations to the host for completing the hunter trial task ahead of schedule, the task reward is doubled. Drawing. Congratulations to the host for extracting the A-level character items, the Zanpakuto of Jinichimaru in the Shinigami world, and the magic spear. Extracting. The extraction was successful. Asterisk. Chapter 19. Zanpakuto. This reward is worthy of an A-level draw. Although I don't know how powerful Zanpakuto is in this world, I think it's definitely not too weak. Open the item space that comes with the system. Rocky, who was thinking of taking out the Zanpakuto, didn't find it. What's the matter, my magic gun? Rocky was a little confused. Isn't the extraction successful? Where did Zanpakuto go? Just when Rocky was thinking about the gunslinger going there, thoughts surged out of Rocky's body. In front of Rocky, it instantly turned into a short knife. The round hilt, the blade shone with cold light, revealing a cold air. Raise your hand to hold the gun. This is Manipulator's ability. Holding the sharp gun, Rocky felt like the knife was an extension of his hands and feet. An inexplicable intimacy. He looked up at the bottles on the bookcase in the bed. Rocky aimed his sharp gun at the bottle. Shoot him, magic gun! Bang! The bottle shattered in an instant. The speed at which the sharp gun erupted at this instant made Rocky completely unaware of it. Faster than bullets. This distance. Almost as soon as Rocky opened his mouth, the sharp gun hit the target. After the sharp gun hit the bottle, it quickly retracted. Strong attack. At the moment when the sharp gun attacked just now, Rocky felt it, and his own thoughts also consumed a little. Not much though. He looked at the Zanpakuto in his hand. Has it become my manipulator's ability? I didn't expect the items extracted by the system to become my ability directly. As soon as he raised his hand, the sharp gun disappeared. No matter how random the grabbing action was, the sharp gun appeared in Rocky's hands for the first time. This seems to be more convenient for combat. Rocky couldn't help but start thinking. I don't know what the situation will be if I use the magic gun to solve the problem. Will it enhance my mind? Maybe it should. But now is not the time for common sense. The current airship may not be able to withstand the impact of the second thought. Then again, maybe the flying ship will crash directly. Rocky would walk so far that he wasn't afraid of falling to his death when the airship fell, but that was too much movement to be necessary. After the airship sends all the candidates to the venue for the third test, find another place to try it out to see the effect. Where's the scabbard? When Rocky thought about it, the scabbard appeared on his left hand. Put the sharpshooter in the scabbard. Don't hold it behind your back, a short knife is hidden behind your waist, shrouded in Rocky's white cloak, you won't notice it if you don't look closely. The reason for this is to make others think that the gun is a real weapon, not a materialized item. In this way, no one would have thought that a knife would suddenly become, and suddenly stab out at an incredible speed. Any enemy who does not pay attention to this knife will definitely die because of it. After studying the gun for a while, Rocky turned on his system. New tasks have appeared. After completing the tasks of the Hunter exam, the second task appeared immediately. This kind of task that does not need to be triggered, Rocky feels that it is the same as the main task in the game. No need to trigger, complete the previous task, the next task will appear immediately. After completing the Hunter exam, the next mission is the Battle of the Sky Arena, winning a streak of 10 battles on the 200th floor. After the task is completed, the reward is to be drawn once at the B level. Leaving aside the difficulty of the quest, Rocky now finds that the main quest seems to change with the plot. I don't understand why this is, but after thinking about it for a long time, I gradually started to get tired, and Rocky fell asleep. The airship finally reached its destination while Rocky was sleeping. The venue for the third trial. Trap Tower. Rocky came to the entrance of the airship to say goodbye to Gon and the others. Why did you give up the hunter exam? Leorio didn't understand why Rocky said he wasn't participating in the hunter trial. If there's any difficulty, just say it and we'll help you, Rocky. Kurapika also said with concern. Kurapika appreciates Rocky's previous help. Gon and Kilua know the truth, but they decide not to tell Leorio and Kurapika. Temporarily keep it a secret, wait until the hunter exam is completed, and everyone will become a professional hunter, wouldn't it be better? Rocky can only say about Kurapika and Leorio's concern. Don't worry, my trial is different from yours, come on. The confused Kurapika and Leorio had to disembark from the flying boat because the trial was about to start. The third hunter trial began, and the flying ship left early. After one last glance at the window, Rocky was ready to go back to his room. Satsu and Menki on the spaceship find Rocky. The president is looking for you, hurry up. Little devil. Menchi said in a tone like a big sister. Sats smiled, don't worry about her, you are also an official hunter now, we are the same people, it's not the difference between the examiner and the candidate. Going to the lounge where Netero was, there was a glass of water in front of him with a leaf on it. Seeing this situation, Rocky also slapped his head abruptly. Why didn't he think about doing the Mizuhiro once? Let's see what kind of ability his mind is. Asterisk. Chapter 20. Come here, sit down. In the small room, a small wooden table was placed in the center. Two cushions were placed opposite to each other, and Netero sat cross-legged. Rocky also walked across from Netero and sat down. President. Although Netero decided to accept Rocky as a disciple, it was also due to Netero's age. Rocky is too young, and calling a master suddenly made Rocky's seniority too high. So Netero asked Rocky to call him president anyway. Rocky still thinks it's good to learn from Netero. Although Rocky surpassed Netero a bit, it is not bad to learn from the monster Netero in the practice of Nian. Little Rocky, your Nian has awakened, but the practice of Nian does not happen overnight. Rocky's talent in reading is the first time Netero has met such a monstrous boy. But it is precisely because Rocky's talent is too strong that Netero decided to accept Rocky as his disciple to teach himself. The first is that Rocky's talent is strong, and he will definitely become a top Nin in the future. Secondly, if Rocky's talent goes astray, he will become a terrifying enemy. Therefore, it is very necessary to keep it by your side to take care of the guidance in person. Your mind is awakened, so let's first test what kind of mind your mind belongs to. Netero took a cardboard and put it aside. The picture above is the 6 major systems of mindfulness. Enhancer, Conjurer, Manipulator, Trait, Emitter, Transmuter. Each corner of a hexagon has the name of a series written on it. Netero began to explain to Rocky the 6 major lines of reading. Nin's 6 major departments, each will have a unique first-line ability, in addition to the ability of the department can play 100% of the power. The 2 adjacent systems can only exert 75% of their power. A system in the interval can only be 60%, and the diagonal system can only exert 40% of the power. Among them, the trait system is the most special existence. Cannot be counted among them. Come and test which line your mind belongs to now. Put your hands on both sides of the cup and release your mind. Water overflow, Enhancer. The taste of the water changes, Conjurer. The leaves are shaking, Emitter. The color of the water changes, Transmuter. Crystals appear in the water, Manipulator. A change that does not belong to any of the above conditions is a trait. Netero stroked his beard and looked at Rocky. You're probably either a manipulator or an emitter. Even before Rocky began to cast his telekinesis, Netero made his guess. Why, where did the president see it? It's just the old man's feeling. This reason is really strong. At Netero's age, there are probably countless opponents he has met, and it is not surprising that he can easily sense the ability of his opponent just by looking at it. A faint thought slowly emerged from Rocky's body. Thoughts flowed through Rocky's body. The water in the cup changed quickly. The color of the water changed, first showing red, then mixing in blue. The color of the water becomes colorful in the next second. The leaves began to shake. Such performance! It's definitely a trait. Netero looked at the colorful water and looked up at Rocky. Is it a trait? I guessed it wrong. After testing that Rocky is a trait type Nin, Netero put away his smile instead. Rocky also saw Netero's expression change. The traits are in line with Rocky's wishes, and there is no way anyone can let Rocky see Crollo's abilities, Kurapika, Nephibit, and Ant King. President, isn't the trait system bad? Rocky didn't understand that traits should be very strong. There is nothing wrong with the trait system, but the old man prefers that you be an emitter, or a manipulator capable. Glancing at Rocky, Netero placed his hand on the cardboard of the 6 Nin series he had drawn earlier. After Netero wrote 100% in the corner of the trait, he wrote 2 words in the other 5. Unknown. The ability of the trait department is very strong and good. But compared to the other 5 major systems, you can clearly know how much power the rest of the system can exert when you have the ability of this department. The ability person of the trait department has absolutely no way of knowing how much the ability of other departments can be used. Moreover, the ability of other departments can be cultivated in addition to the ability of their own department, and they can also improve the ability of other departments through cultivation, but not the trait department. The ability of the trait system is innate and cannot be improved through acquired practice. If Rocky's ability of the trait system is able to exert 200% of emitter's ability, and other types can only exert 10% or 20% of the power, then he can achieve that percent without training Rocky 10 or 20 abilities. A person with the ability of the special system can't judge how much power the ability of other departments can exert, but there is a high probability that you can see it from the Mizuhiki. Netero looked at the colorful water. You should have a strong talent in transmuter and emitter. Chapter 21. Okay. Little Rocky, take a rest first. When you arrive at the place, I will start guiding your practice of reciting. I think you can't wait. Netero said with a smile. Although Rocky's mind system is somewhat different from what he expected, Rocky's water-seeing style can also be seen with a high probability that Rocky has talent in emitter and transmuter. Maybe in both departments, Rocky can play more than 100% of his abilities. As for other departments, it is not known how much power Rocky can exert. But at least it compares to Netero's mind. The best of the worst. Rocky nodded, got up and left towards his lounge. Leaving Netero's room, Rocky looked down at the thought emanating from his hands. Trait type. He has a strong talent for release and emitter. Thinking back to Netero's words, Rocky wondered if it might be because of the power of King Asakura. Combining release and operation, then the most suitable ability for Rocky to develop is the first thing that makes Rocky think of, the holding spirit and fire spirit of King Asakura Ye. However, Rocky did not obtain the holding spirit of King Asakura Ye before. Rocky also thought that the fire spirit should belong to item extraction, not character extraction. Rocky was a little disappointed that he didn't get the fire spirit. But now it seems that relying on the random extraction probability of the system, it is absolutely impossible to draw the fire spirit from King Mokang Yewang again. But now my mind seems to be able to develop a fire spirit by myself. Moving in this direction seems like a good idea, but Rocky isn't in a rush to decide on development capabilities just yet. Although there is no difficulty in reading him, Rocky still needs to learn about the basic skills of reading, and then decide on the development of Nin. Netero was in the room after Rocky left. Looking down at the quilt after Rocky's Mizutami. Raise your hand to pick up the leaves floating on the water. Idiosyncratic little devil, it's really a headache. Netero said, and suddenly a green thing came in. President, we're almost there, you can get ready to disembark. It was none other than the strange bean noodles man in Hunter x Hunter. Some people even suspect that the bean noodles are the product of the Dark Continent. Seeing that Netero was motionless, the bean noodles man came to Netero. "President, what are you doing?" While talking, I saw a glass of colorful water on the wooden table. The bean noodle man was stunned for a moment, then raised the water glass and glanced at it. "Don't the president only like to drink tea? Why did he start drinking a drink?" Bean noodles people are a little curious about a drink that can satisfy the taste of Netero. He took a sip without hesitation. Only then did Netero look away from the leaves in his hands. It was found that the bean noodles man was drinking water from Rocky's previous Mizuchi-style cup. "What are you doing?" The bean